Hello and welcome to the third episode of The Puzzle, where Isaac and I tackle difficult questions that are impossible to answer in 10 minutes, and yet we try to do so anyway, for the purpose of opening up interesting venues of discussion. And we invite you to write back to us and ask, okay, guys, we heard this, we want you to dig deeper. Who the hell are those two guys? Well, we are two business-minded engineers who love wrestling with wicked problems, and we had both of us had good fortune to work on many different projects, ventures, etc. So we got to see, experience a lot, fail a lot. So we're hoping that you can learn from wisdom of others, not just from your own wisdom, because failing hurts, and it's not about failing often, it is about learning often.
We have banged our collective heads on the wall a few times in different projects, and you get to benefit from all the callus of the head.
Yeah. So
What is today's question?
before I kick off the timer, the 10-minute timer, so the question for today is how to grow organically and underscored organically. Isaac, gonna kick off the timer and let's dive into it.
Organically. Let's take, tying to the comments that someone made that last thing we posted, one of the last things we posted. You can go bananas with innovation, bet the farm, and that's what Bruno, I like that you called it earlier, capital G growth, like big new businesses, new opportunities. Or you can go lowercase g growth, as you call it, which is incremental improvements, gaining market share or maintaining market share. So the question is, what is the right balance between those? And so it's very similar to what we discussed last time about innovation, whether you want to invest 100% in innovation. So you probably want to do both. If you are, especially if you're an established company. I don't know if it's such a great idea to say, oh, you know what, leave aside the lowercase growth. We'll figure it out and then focus only on big bets.
It's absolutely not the way to go, at least not in my experience and what I've seen. What's important to this discussion, so when we talk about organic growth, we basically talk about growth that comes from selling your own products, services, business models you implement, etc. So that's kind of what we broadly mean by organic growth. And when it comes to the capital G growth and a lowercase g growth, it's not about either or, it's not about the percentage for each. To me, it's about understanding what's the role of different people in the organization. To me, CEO and executive management, their job is the capital G growth, because they have the broadest, the biggest picture. They're held responsible and accountable for the strategy and direction of the organization. That they cannot say, hey, that's not where we wanted to go, or that's not what we wanted to do. Hey, it's your job to say that. At the same time, it's their responsibility to create a system in the organization that allows all the employees to contribute to the minor G growth. As you said, like capital G, opening new markets, like we spoke about segmentation last time, introducing new product families, not new product within an existing family, opening up new business models, opening up new geographies, whatever. That is the capital G thing, the strategic growth. Minor G are all the improvements. You call them incremental innovation, continuous improvements, Kaizen, Kaikaku, whatever you want to call them. But you need a system that will enable everybody to basically continue all the time. And specifically when you, I'm gonna just share one more thing and stop for a moment, pause for a moment. When we talk about organic growth, you basically have two levers that work all the time. One of them is how you create value or innovation, which we discussed for a long time. And another is branding, or how you talk and are perceived in the world and in the environment. Like those are the two main levers for organic growth. If you do not master them, and you don't know how they causally connect to the process in your organization, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be very tough for you.
I agree with the later one, but I'll challenge you on the first one. And I do see that there's the CEO is the CEO, the chief, whatever. The management team is not. Yes, they have the view of where they want to take this ship, But at the same time, if the capital needed for those bigger bets, to pursue the capital G growth is not coming from raining like manna from heaven, I think it's actually quite a fair challenge for a CEO or GM or whomever to balance those two aspects, because you have to fuel the big G growth somehow. So if you have an established business and you're making solid money, everybody I think who has worked in bigger businesses knows, and smaller ones too, that you need to run a bit merely to stand still in terms of mind share and market share. Which means that while you're pursuing the capital G growth, you need to somehow make the money to throw into the furnace to fuel the capital G growth. So while yes, I do see also that somebody needs to have the visionary hat on. Personally, I'm always very interested to see how companies will manage to do a bit of both, or a lot of both, or find a balance. Because if you ignore the one, I mean, let's say that you do capital G growth, and everything is a banger, like everything is 100% fantastic, one after the other, big G innovations. Okay, you launch them, but then you establish new families in the market. What, you just let them go? So every capital G growth phase needs to be followed by little growth steps. So I find those are both, might be actually a false dichotomy in the end. We talk about two ends of the spectrum, but they are rather two different phases of the life cycle of innovation, of growth sources. What do you think?
I wouldn't put them on the same spectrum at all. I would actually put them on different spectrums, because they need to exist at the same time for the reason you said. Like if you have just these capital G's, what you're gonna get is decay. So you will be dependent on always introducing a new thing. Otherwise, you're gonna go obsolete within 3 years.
Absolutely.
If you only have minor G's, you might be performing well for a period of time, but you will be very vulnerable. That you will also be vulnerable to disruption, like disruption in the terms like Clayton Christensen talked about it. So to me, it's not the spectrum like, hey, we need to balance this or that. Think Toyota. Toyota doesn't balance shit. So Toyota production system is about having 100% continuous improvement at all the times, not at the expense of innovation or Kaikaku breakthrough improvements. So this is what we're talking about here, kind of a company that wants to thrive, grow organically and sustain that growth. They need to become proficient and both capital G and
growth. So we agree it is a false dichotomy then, that it's not the one or the other. You need to have both. And the challenge is to do both, to pursue both, and maybe not to talk about those two as different sources. Especially in the realistic case where you need to have capital to take the wins from the one and throw it the other. I mean, that was a big disagreement in the other thing we posted about how you need to do blue sky, skunk work style of innovation. Okay, whose money? Where do you find the money to do this? Sure, go hide in a lab and do all that crazy stuff, but somebody needs to pay for this. Right? So
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when we talk about ventures, my preference is always for bootstrapped ventures because of the freedom.
Absolutely, agree.
Yeah, the freedom it brings. But when we talk about within the corporates, what's a bootstrapped venture? Does a bootstrapped venture make sense? Maybe, maybe not. There is no 100% answer you can have. But the main thing I would like people to focus on is the difference in how to approach the systems for capital G and minor G growth. To me, minor G growth is about quality of the quantity, which means you cannot have systems that depend on middle management evaluating every potential improvement idea proposal. You cannot have bureaucracy heavy structure where Isaac or Bruno has an idea to test with the customer, but they cannot because they need to get a sign off from A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That's not a system for minor G growth. At the same time, systems for capital G growth are different again, and you cannot copy paste the systems from one to another. Like, why would you have the same appraisal or business case, a valuation system for capital G, like for minor G. And that is a common issue in the organization. So organizations introduce these procedures because they're trying to protect themselves against the trauma they had sometimes in their organizational life. So someone once got a lot of money, they spent it poorly. Okay, now everybody must make a business case. Everything that's above 50,000 euros must go to executive committee of a €1 billion company. Like, that doesn't make sense.
I mean, the meeting costs more than the piloting phase or the exploration. Not that I've ever seen that. Of course, it's purely theoretical. Nobody has seen that. That's a tricky one, though. I think it trips up lots of people, and I think even now we seem to disagree. Then we agree again because it's really. I think it might have to do with how human brains think. We think in A versus B, black versus white, something versus something else, and in reality, that's the tricky part of having two brains in one body. Probably is also not very fun to be in either type of organization, one that does only continuous improvement, not a la Toyota, or one that is always the next thing. It's okay, you launch the next thing, and it was successful. Now what? You go to the next thing. Reminds me actually of Google, right? Launches, kills. It's fatigue. At some point, it's like, okay, fine, I'm not building on anything of Google anymore because they're going to kill it in 6 months or 2 years, apparently, depending on who gets promoted when and why. So it's not that you have to find a balance between the two, but you have to, you need to be like I always say, you need to be like the chameleon. The eyes go separately, so you need to look at two things at the same time, which is difficult, but that's a challenge, I guess.
It is a challenge. I see. Time flies. We're already over 10 minutes. It is a challenge. There's a challenge of words, and words matter. So what's important is that within organization, people agree on the meaning of the words. And another thing, you're correct, but we have to remember organizations are made up of people, and those people are not a monolithic creature with one brain, one heart, or one value system. And that's a beautiful thing. So again, the leadership here has an opportunity to allow everybody to contribute to the organization. That is how we create this multitude of different perspectives and viewpoints that have to be aligned on something, but otherwise they don't need to see eye to eye on absolutely everything. Exactly for the reason different challenges require different skill sets and different perspectives.
And that's the tragedy of, I'd say, a lot of the corporate mindset, that there's this assumption that you have to toe the line. No, you don't have to. Fine, you don't have to agree on everything. It's people also quote disagree and commit of Amazon, I think, and you can also take it in a very wrong way. But look, you cannot debate endlessly about should we do this or do that. Like, pick one, see if it's gonna kill you if you do it the wrong way. If you know, just try it out and see if it works. You don't have to agree on everything, and that's fine. You are never going to agree on everything anyway, so why even try? If you try to impose it, it stifles creativity. People feel they have to shut up to satisfy something that is imposed due to peer pressure, do some should, shall requirement. Then what you get people who just say, yes, okay, yeah, lip service. So tricky situation to be in if you try to push too hard on uniting everyone around something.
Absolutely. So what I'm thinking, we are out of time. Thank you for joining for another episode of The Puzzle. If there was anything here that you would like us to attack for another 10 minutes, hunt us down, LinkedIn, website, send us an email, and we're gonna tackle this and go deeper and deeper until we run out of depth. But I don't think we will run out of depth. We'll just maybe come out on the other side of the earth, or perish in magma or something.
We will start biting our own tongue, our own tails. I think that's what's going to happen. It never ends. It's a wicked problem. You squeeze it here, it escapes there. You squeeze it there, it escapes here. So you always try to constrain it. Okay, so see you all, and off to the next one.